I am Cassandra, 29, and last spring I discovered through Instagram that my brother Jason was having a massive engagement party. Everyone was invited except me. When I called my dad Richard about it, he brushed me off with, "It is just a reunion, Cassandra. Do not make a big deal out of nothing." Hurt and confused, I decided to follow through with my planned ski trip instead of confronting my family directly. I had no idea that posting one innocent ski selfie would cause my entire family to implode. Before I tell you how my innocent ski selfie turned my family upside down, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. And subscribe if you have ever felt left out by the people who should always include you. Growing up, Jason and I were inseparable. Despite being 3 years younger than me, he was my shadow, my confidant, and often my responsibility. Our parents had what could generously be called a volatile marriage. Dad worked long hours at his law firm, and Mom threw herself into community organizations, leaving Jason and me to navigate childhood together more often than not. I still remember the summer day I taught Jason to ride his bike. He was 7, skinny knees covered in Batman band-aids from previous attempts. Mom was hosting some charity committee meeting, and Dad was, as usual, at the office. I spent hours running alongside him down our driveway, holding the back of his seat until finally letting go without telling him. When he realized he was riding solo, his face lit up with such pride that I can picture it perfectly even now. "You are the best sister ever, Cass," he had shouted, wobbling but determined to keep his balance. During middle school, when some neighborhood kids started picking on Jason for his thick glasses and interest in science, I confronted them directly. I was a freshman in high school by then, and I made it crystal clear that messing with my brother meant dealing with me. The bullying stopped immediately. That night, Jason slipped a thank you note under my bedroom door with a drawing of me as a superhero. Our bond stayed strong through high school, even as we developed different friend groups and interests. I was more artistically inclined, spending hours with my sketchbooks, while Jason excelled in math and science. Yet we still had our rituals: Sunday morning pancakes we made together while our parents slept in, and Friday movie nights in the basement with microwave popcorn and too much soda. Things began to change when I moved to Colorado after college. I had landed a dream job at a graphic design agency in Denver, nearly 2,000 miles from our hometown of Philadelphia. Jason was still at Penn State, finishing his engineering degree. We promised to stay close despite the distance. The first year, we did well. We had weekly video calls. I flew home for his graduation. He spent a summer month with me in Colorado, where I taught him to snowboard. But slowly, inevitably, the distance created space between us. Over the past 2 years, our communication dwindled. My calls to him often went to voicemail. His responses to my texts became shorter, sometimes just emojis or one-word answers. I attributed it to him building his own adult life, starting his career at an engineering firm in Philadelphia, making new friends. Then came Megan. Jason met her at a work conference about a year ago. From what little he shared, she was smart, ambitious, and worked in marketing. In the entire year they had been dating, I had only met her twice, once briefly when I was home for Thanksgiving and again at Christmas. Both encounters were pleasant but superficial. Megan seemed nice enough, if a bit reserved around me. She asked polite questions about my life in Colorado, but changed the subject whenever I tried to share stories about Jason and me growing up. I noticed Jason becoming increasingly distant after he started dating Megan. When I called to chat, he would answer but seemed distracted, often saying he needed to go after just a few minutes. My texts about inside jokes we shared went unacknowledged. Invitations for him to visit Colorado again were met with vague, maybe someday responses. Still, I never imagined that the gap between us had grown so wide that I would be excluded from one of the most important celebrations of his life. After all, we were more than siblings growing up. We were allies, partners in navigating our family dynamics. I had always thought that bond was unbreakable. It was a regular Tuesday evening in March when my world tilted sideways. I was unwinding after work, scrolling through Instagram while half watching a reality show. My cousin Angela's post stopped my thumb mid-scroll. The image showed her holding up two different dresses with the caption, "Help me decide which one to wear to Jason and Megan's big engagement bash this weekend. Hashtag family celebration, hashtag cousins getting married." I blinked, sure I had misread something. I scrolled back up and read it again. An engagement bash? This weekend? I had heard nothing about an engagement party, let alone one happening in just a few days. My first thought was that there must be some mistake. Surely my brother would have invited me to his engagement party. I quickly checked my email, including spam folders, thinking the invitation might have gotten lost somehow. Nothing. I checked my physical mail pile again, though I knew I had not seen anything resembling an invitation. Nothing there either. I even checked my voicemail to see if Jason had called while I was in a meeting. Nothing but a reminder about my upcoming dentist appointment. With growing unease, I called my mother. Elizabeth Matthews always had a talent for dancing around uncomfortable topics, and this call proved no exception. "Mom, I just saw Angela's post about Jason's engagement party this weekend. Did my invitation get lost or something?" I asked, trying to sound casual despite the knot forming in my stomach. "Oh, Cassandra. I was just about to call you actually," she said, her voice pitching higher the way it always did when she was fibbing. "How are you, sweetheart? How is the weather in Colorado?" "Mom, the weather is fine. Can we talk about the party? I have not heard anything about it." There was a pause, then a nervous laugh. "Well, it was all put together rather quickly. Megan's parents were insistent on having something before her grandmother goes in for her hip surgery next month. That does not explain why I have not been invited, Mom." Another pause. "I thought Jason had called you about it. You know how he is with these things, always leaving details to the last minute." By now, the knot in my stomach had transformed into a heavy stone. "So there is a party, and I am supposed to be invited?" "Well, dear, it is just a small gathering, really. Mostly family from both sides getting to know each other. Nothing fancy." The evasiveness in her tone told me everything I needed to know. I ended the call shortly after, promising to talk soon, though both of us knew it was just a way to escape the uncomfortable conversation. Next, I called my father. Richard Matthews was many things, but he had never been one to sugarcoat reality. If anyone would give me a straight answer, it would be him. "Dad, what is going on with Jason's engagement party? Mom is being weird about it, and I have not received an invitation." My father's sigh traveled across the country through the phone line. "Cassandra, it is just a reunion of sorts. The Henderson family meeting our family. Nothing you need to worry about missing. But Angela is going. And from her post, it sounds like a big deal. Your cousin exaggerates everything. You know that. It is just a dinner at the country club. Megan's father is a member there." "So I am not invited?" I pressed, needing to hear it directly. "Look, Cassandra, it is not personal. The guest list had to be limited. It is just a reunion. Not worth you flying across the country for. Focus on your work out there. That is what matters." After hanging up with my father, I returned to social media with new purpose. I checked the profiles of other family members and found more evidence that this was far from the small gathering, or just a reunion, my parents had described. My Aunt Patricia had posted about having her hair done specially for the big event. My teenage cousin Tyler was complaining about having to wear a suit for Jason's fancy party. The worst discovery came when I found that Megan had created a private event page that someone had tagged in a comment. While I couldn't access the full details, the preview showed Jason and Megan's engagement celebration with a formal invitation design and a guest count that appeared to be well over 100 people. My hands shaking slightly, I called Jason. The call went straight to voicemail, which wasn't unusual lately. I left what I thought was a measured message. "Hey, just heard about your engagement party this weekend. Call me back when you can." An hour later, I received a text instead of a call back. "Super busy with work and wedding stuff. Talk later." That was it. No explanation, no invitation. Not even an acknowledgement of the obvious exclusion. The final blow came when I saw that Tammy Wilson, my high school friend who had barely spoken to Jason since graduation, had posted about her excitement to attend Jason Matthews' engagement bash. So not only were extended family members invited, But old acquaintances who weren't even close to my brother had made the cut while I somehow hadn't. By the end of the evening, the truth was unavoidable. My brother was having a major celebration. And I had been deliberately excluded. The brother I had protected, supported, and loved fiercely throughout our childhood had decided I didn't deserve to be there for one of the most significant moments of his adult life. That night, sleep eluded me entirely. I cycled through emotions like a washing machine on an endless spin cycle. Hurt, confusion, anger, self-doubt, back to hurt again. Around 2 a.m., I called my best friend Autumn. Forgetting the time difference meant it was 4 a.m. in New York. Someone better be dead or giving birth, she mumbled into the phone. Jason is having a huge engagement party this weekend. And I was not invited, I said, my voice cracking despite my efforts to sound composed. Literally everyone else was invited. Distant relatives, old high school friends. Probably the mailman too, but not me. Autumn was instantly alert. Wait, what? That makes zero sense. You and Jason were always so close. Apparently not anymore, I said, staring at my ceiling as tears slid silently into my hair. My parents know about it too. Dad literally said it was just a reunion and not worth me flying in for. That is complete bullshit. Autumn said with the fierce loyalty that had made her my best friend since college. Have you considered that this might be Megan's doing? You have only met her, what, twice? The thought had crossed my mind, but hearing Autumn say it gave the idea more substance. Maybe. At Christmas, I overheard her telling Jason that I seemed too career-focused to ever settle down. Like it was some character flaw. Classic insecurity, Autumn declared. She probably feels threatened by a relationship with Jason. Some women get weird about their partner's female relatives, especially sisters. Remember my cousin Rachel's wedding drama? We talked for nearly an hour, with Autumn validating my feelings and helping me process the shock. Before we hung up, she asked about my weekend plans. Actually, I was supposed to go on a ski trip to Breckenridge with some coworkers. I was thinking about canceling to wallow in self-pity instead. Absolutely not. Autumn said firmly. You are going skiing. You are going to have an amazing time while they are all making awkward small talk at some stuffy country club. Living well is the best revenge, Cass. After we hung up, I lay awake revisiting memories of Jason and me throughout our childhood. The time we built a snow fort so sturdy it lasted until March. The night of the thunderstorm when he was 10 and still crept into my room because the thunder frightened him. The way he had hugged me tightly before I drove away to Colorado, promising we would always be close despite the distance. What had changed? When had I become someone he could so easily exclude? Morning arrived with puffy eyes and a headache, but also a resolve. Autumn was right. I would go on the ski trip as planned. I would not cancel my life because my family had seemingly canceled me. As I packed my gear that evening after work, I fought back fresh tears. My favorite ski jacket had been a Christmas gift from Jason 2 years ago. He had researched the best brands and saved for months to buy it for me. Only the best for my big sis, he had said when I opened it. I considered leaving it behind, but ultimately packed it. It was, after all, the best ski jacket I owned. The memory of Christmas 5 months ago surfaced again as I folded thermal layers into my suitcase. I had arrived at my parents' house to find Jason and Megan already there, cozied up on the couch looking at something on her phone. When I entered, Jason had given me a quick, distracted hug before returning his attention to whatever Megan was showing him. Later that evening, I had gone to the kitchen for water and overheard Megan's voice from the dining room where she was helping my mother arrange ornaments. I think it is sweet that Cassandra is so dedicated to her career, she had said in a tone that suggested the opposite. Some women just are not meant for family life. Too independent, you know? Jason says she has not had a serious relationship in years. My mother had made some non-committal response, neither agreeing nor defending me. I had slipped back upstairs without getting my water. A seed of unease planted that was now blooming into painful clarity. As I zipped my suitcase closed, my phone pinged with a text from my mother. Call me when you can, dear. Dad and I were thinking perhaps we could come visit you next month since you cannot make it this weekend. Cannot make it. As if I had been invited and declined. As if this was my choice. I turned my phone to silent and placed it in my purse. Tomorrow I would drive to Breckenridge with Dana and Kyle from the design department. We would spend 3 days skiing, enjoying mountain views and après-ski drinks by fire pits. I would not spend it checking my phone for explanations that weren't coming or apologies I wasn't sure I could accept. The drive to Breckenridge early Friday morning was exactly what my wounded spirit needed. As we climbed into the mountains, leaving Denver behind, the majesty of snow-covered peaks and endless blue sky worked its magic. Dana was behind the wheel, singing along to 80s rock, while Kyle dozed in the back seat. I felt the knot in my chest loosen slightly with each mile marker. "You seem a million miles away," Dana commented during a break in the music. "Everything okay?" I considered deflecting with my usual "I am fine," but something about the distance from home and the perspective of the mountains made honesty feel safer. Family drama. My brother is having a big engagement party this weekend, and somehow I was not on the guest list. Dana's eyebrows shot up. "You have got to be kidding me. I remember how you were always talking about your brother when you first moved here. You two seemed super close." "We were," I said, watching the pine trees blur past my window. "Things change, I guess." "That is seriously messed up," Dana said, shaking her head. "Well, their loss is our gain. We are going to have an epic weekend." By the time we checked into our lodge, the family drama felt slightly more distant. Our accommodations were rustic but comfortable, a 3-bedroom condo with a stone fireplace and views of the slopes. We quickly changed and headed out, eager to make the most of the afternoon sunshine. The first few runs down the mountain were exactly what I needed, the exhilaration of speed, the focus required to navigate the terrain, the crisp mountain air filling my lungs. For those moments, there was no room for thoughts of Jason or Megan or the party I was missing. There was only the mountain, my skis, and the next turn. But as the day wore on, my concentration slipped. A family of 4 sharing a chairlift with me, parents with a brother and sister who playfully bickered, sent a pang through my heart. A group of friends celebrating a birthday with champagne at the lodge reminded me of the celebration happening without me on the other side of the country. By our late afternoon run, Dana had noticed my distraction. After a near miss where I barely avoided colliding with a snowboarder, she suggested we take a break. "Okay, spill," she said once we were seated with hot chocolates at a mountainside cafe. "You almost became one with that guy's snowboard back there. What is going on in that head of yours?" I told her everything, the discovery of the party, my parents' dismissive responses, the history with Jason, and my suspicions about Megan's influence. "That is such garbage," Dana declared after listening intently. "And you're sure this party is happening tomorrow night?" I nodded, pulling out my phone to show her Angela's latest post, a photo of her freshly manicured nails with the caption, "Ready for tomorrow's big bash. Hashtag Jason and Megan forever." "Well, you know what you should do," Dana said, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Show them exactly what they are missing." "What do you mean?" "I mean, while they are all stuffed into some boring country club eating tiny appetizers and making small talk, you are having the time of your life in one of the most beautiful places on earth." She gestured toward the panoramic mountain view. "Document it. Post it. Let them see that excluding you did not ruin your weekend. It made it better." When Kyle joined us after his last run, he enthusiastically endorsed Dana's plan. "We will make sure you have the best damn weekend." Their loss entirely. That evening, after a delicious dinner at a local steakhouse and drinks at a cozy bar with live music, I felt lighter than I had all week. My phone remained blessedly free of family messages, as if the mountains themselves were creating a protective barrier around my weekend. The next morning dawned clear and perfect, fresh powder, bluebird skies, and temperatures just cold enough to keep the snow pristine. We hit the slopes early, determined to make the most of ideal conditions. By midday, we had covered most of the mountain's best runs, and my skiing had found its rhythm again. After lunch, Dana suggested we take the highest lift to the summit for what she promised would be an unforgettable view. She wasn't wrong. Standing at 12 998 feet, with the continental divide stretching before us like nature's cathedral, I felt simultaneously tiny and infinite. "This is the moment," Dana said, pulling out her phone. "This is your living my best life photo." I posed at the edge of the lookout point, mountains cascading behind me. My ski jacket, the one from Jason, a bright splash of purple against the snow and sky. The sun hit my face just right, and for the first time in days, my smile was genuine. Dana took several shots, then handed me back my phone. "These are perfect. Absolutely perfect." Looking at the photos, I had to agree. They captured not just the scenery, but a moment of authentic joy. Without overthinking it, I selected the best one and opened Instagram. My fingers hovered over the keyboard before I typed. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you are born into. Best weekend ever. #NoriGrits #living my best life. I hit post, then tucked my phone away. "Now," Kyle said, adjusting his goggles, "let us show you the secret powder stash the locals told me about. It is going to blow your mind." For the rest of the afternoon, I was fully present, embracing every run, every laugh, every moment of mountain magic. As we made our last descent as the lifts were closing, I felt a sense of peace I had not expected to find this weekend. That evening, we had reservations at Breckenridge's most acclaimed restaurant, a farm-to-table spot with a month-long waiting list that Kyle had somehow snagged through a connection. Before heading out, I deliberately turned off my phone. Whatever was happening in Philadelphia could wait until tomorrow. Tonight was for good food, better company, and the family I had chosen. Sunday morning arrived with gentle snowfall and the comfortable muscle ache that comes from 2 full days of skiing. I stretched in bed, enjoying the quiet and momentarily forgetting the family drama that had sent me into the mountains in the first place. Then I remembered my phone was still off from the night before. With a slight sense of trepidation, I turned it on while padding to the kitchen to start coffee. The cascade of notifications began immediately, so many that my phone froze briefly trying to display them all. 27 missed calls, 42 text messages, numerous voicemails, multiple Instagram and Facebook notifications. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through the names: Mom, Dad, Jason, Angela, Aunt Patricia, Uncle Robert, cousins I barely spoke to. Even my grandmother, who rarely used her cell phone. The first text I opened was from my mother, sent at 8:47 p.m. Eastern Time. "Cassandra, please call immediately. Your post has upset everyone." Next was one from my cousin Angela. "OMG, why would you do that? Everyone at the party is talking about your post instead of celebrating J&M. With growing confusion, I clicked on a voicemail from Jason, timestamped 9:32 p.m. "What the actual hell, Cass? I know you are mad about the party, but did you really have to pull this stunt tonight of all nights? Megan is in tears. Mom is upset. Dad is furious. Thanks for making sure my engagement party will be remembered for all the wrong reasons." I sat heavily on the couch, coffee forgotten, as I pieced together what had happened. My innocent ski selfie, posted around 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time, had coincided exactly with the start of Jason and Megan's engagement party on the East Coast. The caption I had written, "Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you are born into," had been interpreted as a direct attack on the event I had been excluded from. A text from my Aunt Patricia included screenshots of the party, guests huddled in groups, phones in hand, presumably discussing my post. Another showed Megan looking teary-eyed while Jason spoke animatedly to someone off-camera. My father's voicemail was clipped and cold. "Your behavior is completely unacceptable. You have embarrassed this family deliberately. Call me back immediately." Then came a text directly from Megan, the first communication I had ever received from her. "I always tried to be nice to you despite what Jason told me about how selfish and attention-seeking you can be. Thanks for proving him right. Hope your ski trip was worth ruining our special night." The accusation in Megan's text hit like a physical blow. Jason had described me as selfish and attention-seeking? The brother who knew me better than anyone, who had seen firsthand how much of my childhood had been spent looking out for him. That revelation hurt more than the exclusion from the party ever could. Dana emerged from her room, sleep rumpled but smiling. Her expression quickly changed when she saw my face. Whoa, what happened? You look like you saw a ghost. Apparently. I ruined my brother's engagement party with my ski selfie, I said, still scrolling through the barrage of messages. It seems I created some kind of family crisis. Dana read over my shoulder, her eyes widening. Holy overreaction, Batman. All you did was post a vacation photo. With a caption that could be interpreted as a dig at my family, I admitted. But I never expected it would cause this level of drama. Because it should not have, Dana said firmly. If they had invited you in the first place, none of this would have happened. As I continued going through messages, I found one from my cousin Tyler that included a video. It showed the moment my post had apparently gone viral within the party, guests showing each other their phones, whispers spreading across the ballroom. Megan's face crumpling as someone showed her the post, Jason's expression darkening from confusion to anger. The most surprising message came from my grandmother, Cassandra. I did not know you were not invited. That was wrong of them. But your timing could have been better, dear. Call me when you can. By the time Kyle joined us, I had a clearer picture of what had happened. My post had not just been noticed. It had somehow become the focal point of the entire event. According to various messages, guests had begun taking sides, with some defending my right to enjoy my weekend and others condemning what they saw as deliberate sabotage. The irony, I said to Dana and Kyle as I made breakfast, is that I was not trying to make any kind of statement. I was just sharing a nice moment from our trip. But part of you must have known it would get back to them, Kyle suggested gently. I considered his words as I flipped pancakes. I guess I wanted them to see I was doing fine without them. But I never wanted to hijack their entire party. You did not hijack anything, Dana insisted. They created this situation by excluding you. And then they all overreacted to a simple social media post. That is on them, not you. As we packed up to return to Denver, I wrestled with how to respond to the flood of messages. Part of me wanted to apologize for the unintended consequences of my post. Another part felt indignant that I was being vilified for enjoying my weekend while my family celebrated without me. In the end, I sent a simple text to Jason. I never intended to disrupt your party. My post was about my weekend, not your celebration. We should talk when things calm down. His response came quickly. Too late for that. The damage is done. The drive back to Denver was substantially quieter than the trip up had been, as the mountains gradually gave way to foothills and then the city sprawl. I knew that the real confrontation still lay ahead. My innocent ski selfie had unexpectedly exposed the fault lines in my family relationships, and there would be no going back to pretending they did not exist. 3 days passed before I worked up the courage to book a flight to Philadelphia. 3 days of ignored calls from my parents, terse text exchanges with extended family, and complete silence from Jason. 3 days of replaying childhood memories, examining recent interactions, and trying to understand how we had arrived at this breaking point. My boss, Julia, was surprisingly understanding when I requested emergency personal time off. Family stuff, I had explained vaguely, to which she had simply nodded and said, "Take what you need. The Anderson project can wait." The flight from Denver to Philadelphia gave me 5 hours to prepare for the confrontation ahead. I rehearsed what I would say, anticipating their responses, steeling myself against the accusations I expected. Still, nothing could have fully prepared me for the ice-cold reception that awaited me at my parents' house. My mother opened the door with a tight smile that did not reach her eyes. "Cassandra, we were not expecting you." "I thought it was time we talked face to face," I said, wheeling my small suitcase into the foyer of my childhood home. Everything looked exactly the same. The antique console table with the silver dish for keys, the landscape paintings my mother had collected over the years, even the slight scuff on the baseboard from when Jason and I had tried to bring our sled inside after a snowstorm 20 years ago. My father emerged from his study, reading glasses perched on his nose. "So you decided to show up after all." "I was never given the chance to show up for the party," I replied, determined to start as I meant to go on, with honesty. "Let us not do this in the entryway," my mother said, ever conscious of appearances even when no one else was around to witness our family drama. I will make tea. Seated in the living room with untouched tea cooling before us, the silence stretched uncomfortably until my father finally spoke. Your behavior was completely inappropriate, Cassandra. Whatever your feelings about the party, to publicly embarrass your brother and his fiancée was unacceptable. I did not intend to embarrass anyone, I said, working to keep my voice level. I posted a photo from my ski trip. I did not mention Jason or Megan or the party at all. Do not be deliberately obtuse, my father scoffed. Your caption made your intentions perfectly clear. My caption was about appreciating the friends who were actually including me in their lives, I countered. The real question is why my own brother would have a major celebration and deliberately exclude me from it. My mother fidgeted with her teacup. It was a complicated situation, Cassandra. Megan's family is very traditional, very particular about how things should be done. What does that have to do with inviting your son's only sister to his engagement party? Another uncomfortable silence fell. I could see my parents exchanging glances, having one of those wordless conversations long-married couples perfect. We should wait for Jason, my mother finally said. He and Megan are coming for dinner at 6. The 3 hours until dinner were excruciating. I unpacked in my old bedroom, now converted to a guest room with only a few remnants of my teenage years remaining, a debate team trophy on the bookshelf, a framed sketch I had done of our backyard. I napped fitfully, then showered and changed, bracing myself for round 2 of the confrontation. When the doorbell rang at 6 sharp, I was sitting in the kitchen, helping my mother chop vegetables in an attempt to normalize an inherently abnormal situation. Jason entered first, his expression guarded. Megan followed, clutching his arm as if for support. Neither looked particularly happy to see me. Cassandra, Jason said stiffly. I did not know you would be here. Seems to be a pattern lately, I replied, immediately regretting the passive-aggressive tone. Dinner was a masterclass in uncomfortable small talk. My mother filled silences with questions about the weather in Colorado. My father inquired about the ski conditions at Breckenridge, and Megan offered monosyllabic responses when directly addressed. Jason barely looked at me, focusing intently on his plate as if the answers to the universe might be found in my mother's pot roast. It was not until my mother brought out dessert that Jason finally addressed the elephant in the room. Why did you do it, Cass? Why did you post that right when our party was starting? I had no idea what time your party started, I said honestly. I was not exactly included in the planning details. But you knew it was that day, he pressed. You must have known your post would cause drama. I knew you were having a party I was not invited to, I acknowledged. But I was having a genuinely good moment in Breckenridge and shared it. Not everything is about you, Jason. Megan made a small, derisive sound. Right. Pure coincidence. Something in her tone, the dismissiveness, the subtle mockery, broke the last of my restraint. Why was I not invited, Megan? I would really like to hear your explanation. Her eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. She glanced at Jason, clearly expecting him to field the question. It was a difficult decision, Jason began, his corporate voice emerging, the one he used for client calls I had overheard during his visits. With venue limitations and budget considerations Stop, I interrupted. There were over 100 people there. Second cousins we have not seen in years were there. Mom's book club friends were there. Do not insult me by pretending this was about space or money. Jason's professional facade cracked. Fine. You want the truth? Megan did not want you there. She feels you have never made an effort with her, that you judge her lifestyle choices, that you are constantly competing with her for my attention. And after seeing how self-centered your post was, can you blame her? The room fell silent. My mother gasped softly. My father suddenly became very interested in rearranging his napkin. And you? I asked, looking directly at my brother. Did you not want me there either? Jason had the decency to look uncomfortable. I wanted peace. Megan was stressed enough about planning the perfect party. I did not want to add to that by insisting on inviting someone she was not comfortable with. So you knew, I said slowly, the full weight of the betrayal settling on me. You knew I was being excluded and you chose to go along with it. It is not that simple, Cassandra. Actually, it is exactly that simple, I countered, turning to my parents. And you too? You were okay with your daughter being the only immediate family member not invited to her brother's engagement party. My mother looked down at her half-eaten cheesecake. We did not think it was our place to interfere with Jason and Megan's guest list. We thought it best not to make waves, my father added. Given the distance and your busy schedule, it seemed practical. Practical, I repeated, the word tasting bitter. How practical of you all to decide I was disposable. How practical to pretend I do not exist when it is inconvenient to include me. No one said you were disposable, Jason protested. No one had to say it. Your actions made it perfectly clear. I stood up, no longer able to sit at the table pretending we were having a normal family dinner. For the record, I have made every effort with Megan despite only meeting her twice. I have never judged her lifestyle choices. I barely know what they are because you have shared so little about your relationship with me. And as for competing for your attention, I have spent the last year trying to maintain even a basic level of communication with you while you have become increasingly distant. Megan's face flushed. Jason told me how you always try to one-up everyone, how you have to be the center of attention. He warned me you would make this all about yourself. I turned to my brother, genuinely shocked. Is that really how you describe me to her? Your sister who practically raised you when mom and dad were too busy with their own lives? Who defended you against bullies? Who spent her childhood making sure you never felt as overlooked as I did? Jason had the grace to look ashamed. I never said those exact words. But you did not correct her when she formed that impression, I pressed. You let her believe I am some attention-seeking drama queen, and then used that as justification to exclude me from your life. You are being melodramatic right now, my father interjected. No, Dad. For once I am standing up for myself instead of accepting the family narrative that my feelings do not matter. I looked around the table at each of them in turn. I have spent my entire life being the reasonable one, the one who does not make waves, the one who puts everyone else's needs before my own. And where has that gotten me? Excluded from my own brother's engagement party, and then vilified for daring to enjoy my weekend anyway. I walked to the door, grabbing my purse from the hook in the hallway. I am not going to apologize for posting that selfie. If anything, I am grateful it exposed what was already true, that I am an afterthought in this family. Someone to be accommodated when convenient and discarded when not. Cassandra, do not leave like this, my mother pleaded. I will be at the Marriott downtown if anyone decides they want to have an honest conversation, I said, my hand on the doorknob. But I am done pretending everything is fine when it clearly is not. As I walked out into the cool Philadelphia evening, I felt something unexpected, not just hurt or anger, but a strange sense of liberation. For the first time, I had refused to accept the role assigned to me in my family's drama. I had spoken my truth, regardless of the consequences. And despite the pain of the confrontation, that felt like a victory of sorts. The Marriott hotel room became my sanctuary for the next 3 days. I extended my stay, worked remotely on the Anderson project, and waited to see if any member of my family would reach out for the honest conversation I had invited. The silence stretched from hours into days, confirming what part of me had already known. Real change would not come quickly or easily. On the third evening, as I was contemplating extending my stay yet again or simply returning to Colorado, there was a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw Jason standing alone in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking uncertain. I opened the door but did not immediately invite him in. Jason, can we talk? He asked, his voice lacking the defensive edge it had carried at our parents' house. I stepped aside, allowing him to enter. He took in the hotel room, the laptop open on the desk, the room service tray from lunch, the view of Philadelphia's skyline through the window. How did you know where to find me? I asked. Mom told me. She said you mentioned the Marriott. He sat tentatively on the edge of the desk chair. I should have called first. Probably, I agreed, sitting on the bed. But you're here now. We looked at each other for a long moment, 29 years of shared history hanging between us. I am sorry, he finally said, the words emerging with visible effort. I handled everything badly. The party, your exclusion, the aftermath. All of it. I nodded, accepting his apology but waiting for more. I never described you to Megan the way she suggested. He continued. But I also never corrected her when she formed negative impressions of you. That was wrong of me. Why? I asked simply. Why let her believe those things? Why exclude me? What happened to us, Jason?